Welcome to the Solar Rapture Eclipse Armageddon episode of Dylan Knows, episode 548. It's Sunday, April 7th. Yes, April 7th. 24 hours away from the Solar Rapture Eclipse Armageddon. Yeah! Hello. Sorry about that. That is honestly all I've been hearing this past week on social media. Yes, there's a total solar eclipse happening tomorrow, 24 hours, well, roughly 26 hours from now. Baltimore, we're at Racerstown, where I am, is not in the path of totality, so it will not be total for us. It's a solar eclipse. It happens all the time. It might not always be total, and it might not always be visible to us, but this is nothing unusual. It has also been predicted before many, many years ago. It is not due to an upcoming Armageddon or the Rapture, which I need to remind you, psychopaths, that you cannot predict the rapture. The rapture, if it exists, is something that God himself knows the date of. So your predictions are probably what it is. And the whole thing, keep your pets indoors, watch out for traffic. It's nothing. It's going to turn day to night. It's like twilight. It's like driving home from work in the fall. Come on, people. You need to relax. Yes, it's cool, and it's a cool astronomical event. And yes, it's going to be the last total solar eclipse we're going to see in the United States for a really long time. But it's just an eclipse. It happens all the freaking time. It's not a once-in-a-lifetime, end-of-the-world Armageddon thing. Sorry, I have a headache. Due to the fact that this week had sucked again, because for the third straight month, the beginning of a month, I was in the ER again, third time in a row, due to these stupid stones, which I'm so tired of. And I'm really pissed right now because when I went in, I thought I might have I went in on Wednesday, Tuesday night, Wednesday. Yeah, Tuesday night into Wednesday, I went in. I was there for 6 hours. And I thought I might have had a UTI because I thought I was all clear with the stones. And then they took my CT scan and said, no, your stones that you were supposed to have passed are still hanging around near your uterine tube or urethra. That's what it is, urethra. We don't have uterine. That's woman's thing. The 5 millimeter one has now been reduced to 4, so it is getting reduced, but it and the second one are just chilling right by the urethra. It is, when they took my pee sample, they found granules of the calcified stone in it, so I'm passing stones all the time, just not the big chunks of it. And I'm sick of it. So then after I got my drugs again and stuff like that, they told me to call my urologist. So I called my urologist. This was on April 3rd. They said the earliest they could see me is April 19th, and it would be a teleconference. I would figure something like this where I possibly might need surgery to clean myself out because I don't want to deal with this shit anymore. Might at least result in a visit via in person. But it appears that my urologist, who I've only gone to twice, doesn't like to do that. And then I told them my sob story about being in pain, which was true, and being in the ER. So they said, okay, we'll try to find an in-person time for you to meet your urologist earlier than the 19th. And we'll get back to you in 2 days. It's been 4 days, and I have not heard from them yet. So I will call them tomorrow and find out if and when I'm going to be able to get to see the urologist. And if he doesn't want to do this, then give me to another urologist. I don't give a fuck. I don't want to do a teleconference because I have to work. I won't be able to use a computer. I'll use my stupid phone, which isn't going. My phone's not stupid, but when it comes to teleconference and stuff like that, it doesn't work. It's not going to be a good thing to have. I'm going to talk about how to survive in the ER a little later from now on because I noticed a lot of stuff this time around in the ER about what's going on. We also welcomed a new member of the family. Our new black kitten, Pepper, was delivered to us yesterday, Saturday. 6 months old, born November 13th. So maybe not November, December, January, February, March, April. 5 months. Okay, 5 months old. And it's been an experience. He is a kitten. He had been being raised by my coworker and friend Sarah, who thought of us when she needed to get rid of him because she fosters tons of kittens, and she thought that we would be in the market for one, and she wants him to go to a good home because she sort of liked him. And so she thought of us, and we said, sure, we were going to do that. So we got him here, and yes, I know this is only he's only been here 24 hours, I think. Yeah, 25 hours. He's been here almost 26 hours, I should say. He's been here almost 26 hours, and I know it from what I've heard. It takes upwards of 2 to 5 days to start new kittens and cats to get used to their new owners. It's a big change for the little man. His name is Pepper, and I was going to hope I'd be able to hold him and stuff like that, but he wanted to come down here, and this place, as you can see behind us, is a disaster. But I don't know if you can see him. There's Pepper right there. That's our kitty right there. Abel. Snick. What? I don't know. My wife is texting me something. Oh, Snicks. Okay, they're showing off Snicks. Okay. So as you can see, it's a disaster. He wanted to come down here because Sarah had kept him in the basement because that's where she lives at her folks' house. And so he came down here, and it took us a while to find him, but discovered he has a few hiding spots he liked. One is directly behind me. You can't see it. One is in the bathroom that you can see right over there, and one's in a table behind me you can't see as well. But we didn't want him down here because there's all this junk that we haven't cleared out yet, and it'd be really hard to find him. And we lost him a couple times, but found him. He also liked to go over there where my display case is. So we got a baby gate to put up so he wouldn't come down here. He loves my wife. He's hissed at me about 5 or 6 times. He's hissed at my son a couple times. But he did take some food from me this morning. He did eat some crunchies, and he did pee in his litter box. We kept him. We've been trying to get him to stay in our bedroom because that's where we're going to probably put him when we're away at work. But he was refusing to go upstairs. Eventually, my wife got him to go upstairs from here to upstairs and was able to put up the baby gate. And eventually, he got comfortable and found a couple of new hiding spots. One is in our pantry, and his newest one now. And this is, well, I showed this one. This was our dining table. He likes that on the chairs on the dining table. And he also likes being behind our sofa. So those are a few areas. He also likes an area in our family room, which I'll tell you the story about here in a second. So we have the baby gate up. And last evening, I was watching him while my wife and daughter were watching Parks and Rec. And my son was playing video games. And he tried to bum rush the baby gate because he wanted to get back down the basement. But I told him no, and he ran away from me. And then, as I said, he was fine. He was hanging out at the pantry, hanging out at the dining room table, hanging behind the sofa. There's a chair upstairs also that he sits under too. And so he's got spots up there. So we go to bed. Leave him on the dining room table, or on the dining room chair, excuse me. We go upstairs and we go to bed. About 3:45 this morning, I start suffering from the same pains that sent me to the ER. Not as bad as they were when I went to the ER, but they were still issues that I was having. So I went to the bathroom, and I couldn't sleep. I was in the bathroom for like 15 minutes, and then I couldn't sleep because I had pain. And then I heard a crashing noise. So I got up, went downstairs. Pepper had bum rushed the baby gate and knocked it down. It wasn't in there sturdy. We've been trying to figure out how to do it. We can't get it sturdy in there. knocked it down. So I didn't know, and he was gone. Didn't know where he was. So I went down the basement first, see if he bum rushed it, and then ran down the basement and looked at his usual places. Couldn't find him down here. Went upstairs at 4 a.m. to wake up my wife and said, "Hey, Pepper broke the baby gate down. We need to find him." So she came back down here to relook, and I went and looked around in his spots in the upstairs and couldn't find him. Checked in our bedroom, couldn't find him. So my wife comes back upstairs, and we go into the family room, and our other sofa, which is too thin for him to get behind, he can't get behind there. But we do have an end table surrounded by blankets. My wife was checking there when all of a sudden he flew out of it and ran away because he was really, really scared, obviously. So we got him to, and then he ran behind the sofa in the living room. So we were able to get the baby gate back up, and I have a folding table that is folded up. Put that up and put that in front of the baby gate so he won't bum rush it again. And he stayed behind the sofa pretty much the rest of the night. Now, he did go pee in his litter box. He knows where his litter box is upstairs. And it appears that he did eat some of his crunchies. And then I did get him something called a delectable. It's like a mousse. It's not quite cat like a fancy feast, but it's a mousse packet, like a squeezy applesauce that I gave to him, and he ate that and lapped that up. And I think he drank some water. I'm not sure. I'm hoping he did. He peed last night, so I guess he did. But he's been chilling behind the sofa now pretty much all day today. Again, I know it's going to take time to adjust. I'm going to even say it's going to take at least a month for him to be fully comfortable here. But he loves my wife to death, lets her play with him. And we got loud purrs from him last night. Well, she did, and my daughter. He really doesn't know too many male people, so he was kind of hissy with me and my son, but he did take food from me and hasn't been hissy to me lately. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's our kitty. That's our kitty Pepper. We also had Easter on this past Sunday, and honestly, it was just a meh Easter for me. I was beginning to not feel good, but because I didn't go to the ER till the 3rd, and Easter was the 31st of March. And it was okay. I'd go down to my in-laws. It's always an okay trip down there. Found out my mother-in-law had been mauled by a dog. Not her in general, her calf area had been mauled by a dog and probably need a skin graft on it. And then my father-in-law had to get some fluid drained from his kidneys, or not his kidneys, or something, one of his bladder, I don't know, something down there was having fluid that was supposed to be giving him some pain. So, and we saw my sister-in-law, brother-in-law, niece and nephew's new puppy, Dakota. Was absolutely adorable, good little girl dog, so good. Was not a bad dog at all. Was so good with all the people that I'd never seen before, and was so good, very gentle, and was very fun to play with. And it took a while for the kids to find their Easter baskets at my in-laws' house, and I guess they kind of enjoyed the Easter baskets here, but it was kind of rushed because we had to get down there by 12, because that's when I thought Easter started, but the other families did not show up till like 1, so we were down there like an hour early, I would think. So I would like to have been able to have a little bit more Easter up here, but que sera, I guess. Dinner was fine. It was just kind of a blah day. Watched the Orioles lose, and it was just it's been a bad year so far, and Easter being so early is weird, and I don't know, it just didn't seem great. Now we got nothing until Memorial Day, and then my birthday, and then 4th of July, and then Labor Day, and then it's fall, and then we get the big 3. So we still have some time. We still have to get through the whole freaking summer and the rest of the spring. But yeah, I started seeing some 4th of July stuff at the grocery stores. Obviously, after Easter, that's the next holiday up for decorations and stuff. So they got that stuff all up already. I was like, oh my God, really? So that was Easter. It was okay. Let's just go over this real quick, because this is the solar Rapture, Eclipse, Armageddon. Coming tomorrow. It's supposed to start Eastern time about 2:30 when the sun starts getting eaten away, and then I think totality is like 3:30, 4 o'clock-ish, something like that. It's all over. It can be all over by 4:30. So it'll be happening during rush hour, heading home. But everybody is freaking out. I mean, TikTok and the rabbit hole of all the conspiracy theories and supernatural theories. People are saying the CERN, which they keep always bring up the CERN. CERN is going to slip us into another dimension again during the eclipse. The rapture is going to happen during the eclipse. Keep your animals inside. Don't look directly at the sun, which is true. Don't look directly at the sun. And Armageddon's supposed to happen. And we had these earthquakes, which we'll talk about in a second, that were leading up to it. So everybody's freaking out about that. And apparently the Devil Comet, which is a comet that has horns, which is not evil. It's a ice ball. And it just so happens that it's formed these sort of horns. They've disappeared and reappeared because it's a melting ice ball. So yes, you're going to have the same, repetitive nature of a horn-like existence for a comet. So we'll be able to see that, which is kind of cool. And that's what this should be really about. Should be about a cool astronomical event, one that I'm not going to be able to see appropriately because, again, Baltimore, Reisterstown, because I'll be in Baltimore because I work in Baltimore, live in Reisterstown, my kids in Reisterstown, and my wife's in Hunt Valley. We're not in the path of totality. It's supposed to be close to 80 to 90% totality, which is still interesting, but it's never a full totality. We've never seen a full totality, I don't think, in our area. That's just the way it runs. It's nothing against anything. It's an astronomical event. It's not a biblical God thing. And it just, what drives me crazy is the psychopaths on TikTok who go down these rabbit holes, use these ancient texts and ancient things to bring up these more recent things. The flat earthers, everybody thought for the longest time the earth was flat, so I wouldn't be surprised there's still people that believe that the sun revolves around the earth. Wouldn't surprise me if that is still a thing. I still haven't heard it, but it wouldn't surprise me. Maybe I should parody those people and see if I can start a movement about that. Oh, that would be awesome. I just don't have the willpower because I just feel like shit. Or the eclipses, there was a story that popped up in my feed that said an eclipse happened during a war in 5 AD between these two warring nations, and they stopped the war because they thought God was angry at them. They did not know what actually was happening. It wasn't God's wrath. It was a simple astronomical event. But these people on TikTok are like, well, it's a God event because that's what these people in the past believed. Same thing with the flat earthers, and same thing with the giants, the Nephilim giants, which another thing is driving me absolutely bonkers about. Just like, oh my God, and how Antarctica has all these lost civilizations and creatures and blah, blah, blah. It's just like, ugh. And on ancient maps, Antarctica doesn't look like an ice ball, blah, blah. Oh my God, just stop. But it just, just all kinds of just insanity and stories, that, the path to totality coincidentally is going across a number of towns that have a specific name. And they did the same thing back in 2007, whenever the last one happened in our country. It's a astronomical event. Nothing catastrophic is going to happen. If it does, I'll eat my words and read crow and all and eat my words next week or whatever. But it's an astronomical event. It lasts about 3 to 4 minutes long totality. And then that's it. It's over and done. You should be treating it more like the cool astronomical event that it is than some sort of portend to the end of the universe or the rapture. Psychopaths. Speaking of psychopaths, The Rock, who I used to like a little bit, now has thrown his ring fully behind Donald Trump and his maggots and believes that dictatorship is best for our country. So you can fuck right off now, The Rock. You can suck my balls, you piece of shit. Segueing from that to more eclipse craziness, the psychopathic maggots are saying that the eclipse and earthquakes are God getting mad at us for letting gay people exist and trans people exist. Again, psychopathic moron shitbags. 2 earthquakes happened this week. One in an area that it usually happens in was a 7. Where was it? Taiwan got a 7.5 earthquake, which it was disastrous. It's the heaviest one they've ever had. There was much loss of life, and it was a massive one. But it's in that ring of fire area where you're going to get lots of earthquakes. So it's kind of a norm for it. It's still a disaster. It's still a horrible event because people passed away and died. But it's the earth crust moving. It's not God. Why would God be screaming at Taiwanese people? They're not even bad guys, that you think are considered bad guys. So where are you psychopaths screaming, oh, there's an earthquake in Taiwan. It's because he hates gay people and trans people. I didn't hear anything about that. Didn't even hear any of you maggot fucking GOP shitbags say our thoughts and prayers are with the survivors of the earthquake. Who did? The Democrats and President Joe Biden did, because that's what good people do. You fucking pieces of shit. And then the one that freaked everybody out was Thursday. Or was it Friday? Might have been Friday. There was an earthquake in New Jersey. Now, earthquakes tend not to hit on the East Coast all that much, but you know what? It's not unusual. Maryland had one way back in like 2009, 2010, something like that, which I always remember because I was at work when it hit, and it's become a funny meme where it was such a small little rumble. The real quick story about that was what I found funny about that was I was at work. It was like 2, 3 o'clock. It was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, something like that. And my boss was off that day. And so I was at his desk doing my job, inputting information, stuff like that. And as I was paying attention, so I'm not aware of my surroundings, and I felt my chair shaking. And I thought at first, and I also heard some other shaking, but I didn't think much about that. I thought at first that there was this guy I work with who would like to fuck with me when I was working, was behind my chair. So I turned and say, hey, good one, Josh. And he wasn't there. And then I think Gary, who was there, and somebody from upstairs said, did you feel that? I think it was an earthquake. And then we started, looking on the internet, and they were saying, yeah, you had an earthquake. And then John Mintz, the owner of the company, wanted us to evacuate because it wasn't sure if there was going to be any aftershocks, what was going to happen. So we all hung out in the parking lot for about 5 minutes, and then we went back in, and that was it. But it was a real small earthquake, like a 4.2, 3.1, something like that. And when I got home, some of our photographs were fell off the shelves, but that was it. There was no damage to anything. Even the photographs in their the photo what do you call those things? You know what I'm talking about. They have the glass on them as well. None of them shattered, so that was a good thing. So where was I going with that? So this hit. The meme. So then there's a meme that it had somebody's backyard, and they had like a picnic table, or rather not picnic table, but a circular table with chairs around it, and one of the chairs was knocked over. They're like, never forget the earthquake from such and so a date, and that's kind of funny. It's a little heavier than the one that hit us in Baltimore back in 2010, 2009, whatever it was. It was a 4.8 centered in New Jersey. Coincidentally, first off, and then all the psychopaths, the maggots, are all like, this is God saying, as I just mentioned, that, he hates gay people and trans people need to die and stuff like that. The epicenter of the earthquake was at Bedminster, New Jersey, which is the home of Donald Trump's golf course, which to me seems, if God was the one who controlled earthquakes, he was pissed at Donald Trump for selling $60 Bibles during Easter Holy Week. And not because he was mad that there were gay and trans people. You psychopathic hosebag shitball fuck faces. They said that the shocks were felt all the way down to Maryland. I did not feel anything in Baltimore. It was 10:30 in the morning, something like that. And we were doing our birthday thing, eating donuts, and didn't feel a thing. There were some people, and my wife in Hunt Valley didn't feel a thing. And my kids were like, there was an earthquake. So they must not have felt anything either. But there were people in the Reisterstown page that said, was that an earthquake? And then a lot of my friends up in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, they felt the earthquake, and they were talking about it. There was also an aftershock that was like a 4.2 after it. But again, nothing major happened. Unlike in Taiwan, there were no deaths. There was no major damage to parts of New Jersey or Pennsylvania or New York or whatever. So it happens. I mean, when we had the earthquake in Baltimore back in 2010, 2009, whatever it was, there was a hurricane that was going to come right after it to hit us. So it's coincidental that natural disaster sort of stuff, or natural things like earthquakes and hurricanes and so on and so forth, and eclipses happen, maybe close together for whatever reason. Earthquakes could portend a volcanic eruption because the crust is moving, and that could be enough to break open whatever. That there's, you get earthquakes before you get a volcanic eruption in most cases. I mean, there wasn't, and you also get regular earthquakes places where there's no volcanoes. And that's just, as I said, just the crust grinding against each other. So, again, these psychopaths just, it's a earthquake. It happens. Yes, it's rare when it happens, but in my lifetime, we've had 2 earthquakes in Baltimore. 2. That's pretty good odds for a place that isn't California, which gets them all the time. Let's continue with the woke culture assholes. Man, I didn't mean to spend the first half hour talking about this, but that's what it is. Must be the solar Rapture, Eclipse, Armageddon. Julia Garner has been cast as Shalabala in the new Fantastic Four movie, and Shalabala is going to become the Silver Surfer in the movie. Now, all the woke assholes who have never read comics before, they're not woke, they're anti-woke. We're the woke people. The anti-woke people who have never read Marvel comics before are declaring and screaming that Disney has become woke by casting a female in the lead of Silver Surfer, when obviously a Silver Surfer has always been male. Silver Surfer has not always been male. The Silver Surfer, his name, yes, has always been Norrin Rod, but they've also had Firelord. They've had Terrax. There's another one I'm missing. And then there's Frankie Ray Nova Satori or Nova Prime or something like that. But it was Frankie Ray, a Earth female who Galactus turned into his new herald. And basically she had a Silver Surfer body. Terrax and Firelord didn't, because they already had their powers and stuff like that. But Norrin Rad was a regular alien on another planet and was imbued with the power of Galactus. Frankie Ray was an American who was imbued with the powers of it. So that's why they look like the Silver Surfer. There are female Silver Surfers. Even the parody, What If, they had... oh, going to get your ice cream? Watch out, put the chair there. They had a What If Aunt May became the Herald of Galactus. So another female Silver Surfer. So it's not unusual. It's interesting that they're choosing to, instead of making it Norrin Rod, who is sacrificing himself for his planet, the Princess Shalabala is doing that. And that's an interesting story, to be honest. If you want to, you can put them down off to the side and work your way over if you don't feel comfortable enough. All right. Yeah, that's me and my son. It was my son. He was coming down to get his ice cream. You all right? Yeah. He has to step over. We all have to step over the baby gate and the table now so that Pepper doesn't come down here. But obviously, you anti-woke assholes have never read a Marvel comic and just know Silver Surfer is supposed to be male. I guess maybe because you saw it in the one movie, or you might have seen a comic or whatever, and didn't realize that there is other female Silver Surfers. The fact that Shia LaBeouf is an interesting story choice, but again, the MCU is not Marvel, adaptations of Marvel, the comics. That was well established with the 20 plus movies that we've already seen and TV shows we've already seen, where they've changed everything but kept sort of certain storylines intact. And then there was another actor who was a black actor who claimed that he thought he had the role of Silver Surfer, but apparently they went in a different direction. And that's becoming a story. I don't know. But that, again, would have been a woke thing because, oh, my God, a black person has become the Silver Surfer. I'm just so tired of everything. And I know that when the election happens, and luckily if we win and we take over the House, he's still going to linger, and the maggots are still going to linger, and it's causing me anxiety and bullshit. And hopefully let's get these fucking court cases that keep getting fucking delayed, throw his fucking ass in jail. God. Okay, I've really taken up a lot of time, so I got a lot to cover here in the next hour or so. So let's get on with it. Today, starting at 2 o'clock, will be Bagon Community Day. It's they have this newest classic community day where they've done somebody who's had a community day, have them give them another one. So he's got his today at 2 o'clock, 2 to 5. April's community day was announced today. It is Bellsprout, which is a boring-ass Pokemon from Gen 1. Not really excited about it, but the joke about it is it's a bug type. It's a grass type, like a flower sort of thing. And Bellsprout Community Day is going to be on 4/20. So a weed is going to be on Weed Day. So this way. I don't know what's going to be happening with me because I'll be taking my daughter to Frostburg on a college visit. So I don't know if she's going to need me with her or I'm just going to hang out up there while she's doing all that stuff and then drive her back. So if that's the case, if I'm not invited to these tours and stuff like that, if it's just for the students, I can do community day up at Frostburg. I think I'd be fine. Even though it is Bellsprout, I'm not that excited about it. So for the second time in about 2 or 3 weeks, we had another $1 billion lottery win. This one's from Oregon. The Powerball was $1.3 billion, and it was won in Oregon. The last one was in New Jersey, I think. So the Lottery Commission is on to us how it's always California or Florida. So they said, oh, we better give it to someone else adjacent. Well, Florida is not really adjacent to New Jersey, but Oregon and California are adjacent. So we'll see. Pat Sajak has filmed his last Wheel of Fortune episode ever. It will debut June 7th, 2024. And then he will be gone. Former number one pick and baseball prospect who had a really good career but started off badly with injury. Steven Strasburg, pitcher for the Nationals, and I think he went to the Phillies maybe, has announced his retirement after, I think, 13 or 14 years. I guess he had multiple, surgeries on his arm. I think it's finally taken its toll on him. So good luck to you. Should see you in Canton. No, that's the NFL, in Cooperstown, because I think he had a Hall of Fame career, but we'll see. It's not going to be probably easy, but he should get in. It's a little bit easier to get into the Baseball Hall of Fame than it is the NFL Hall of Fame, I think. Anniversaries. We got a lot of anniversaries, and we're also a lot of deaths are going to be packed at the end. They're just so when I was doing a lot of deaths happen beginning of the week because the way I do my show is I do the stuff from most current down to the latest. So that's how it goes with this thing. Stephen King's first book ever, Carrie, was published 50 years ago this week. Rather, I should say not this week, upcoming last week, the week we're doing this show about. We all know the story is that, Stephen King was a struggling writer. He wrote this script, hated it, threw it in the garbage, and his wife, Tabitha, pulled it out of the garbage, read it, said she liked it, and helped him get back on track because she's a good writer in her own right, and was able to get it and got it out there and became a huge hit, and the rest is history. Heathers, I think this one is this week, actually. They announced it. It's 35th anniversary, I think, is this upcoming week. But I figured I'd bring it since I did see a story about it. And Bad Boys is their 29-year anniversary this week. So now to page 2 of Solar, Rapture, Eclipse, Armageddon. More anniversaries. Major League, also 35 years ago this week. The Sandlot, 31 years ago this week. Death Proof, which is the Quentin Tarantino part of what the fuck was that he did with Robert Rodriguez? Anyway, that's 17 years ago this week. The Evil Dead reboot from 2013 debuted 11 years ago this week. Obviously 2013. Captain America Winter Soldier, still one of the best MCU movies of all time, debuted 10 years ago this week. Kurt Cobain died, committed suicide, and you can go through the rabbit hole of conspiracy theorists there. I still believe he did commit suicide because he was drug addicted, he was depressed, and he had a lot of issues. He died 30 years ago this week. My boys, REM, had their 44th anniversary of the creation of their band. They first played together 44 years ago this week on April 5th. So that was REM Day. That's the same day that is First Contact Day from Star Trek lore. The day before that, it was the anniversary of Martin Luther King's assassination on April 4th. That was 69, so it must have been, that's 55 years ago. So, 68, I'm sorry, 56 years ago. Because RFK was killed like 3 months later. 2 months later, I should say, excuse me. So that's all your anniversaries there. We'll be talking about this anniversary in May, but Brendan Fraser's The Mummy movie, which is a well-loved film, will be getting a re-release in movie theaters on April 26th for its 25th anniversary. Because 1999 was a fantastic year for movies, and I'm not being sarcastic. If it came out that way, it didn't. 1999 was one of the best years for films, and there's a whole book about how great it was. So this movie's coming out and being re-released April 26th, right around the same time as another 25th anniversary release, Star Wars, The Phantom Menace, is also going to be re-released in theaters the day before they release every single Star Wars movie in one marathon, but it will be out individually by itself for its 25th anniversary about a week after this one. So that's good on that. Action Comics #1, the first appearance of Superman, sold at auction. A copy sold at auction for $6 million, making it now the most expensive comic book in history. So that is the record for how much one comic book sold for, $6 million. Baltimore is still recovering from the Key Bridge crash from a couple weeks ago. The Baltimore Orioles and Baltimore Ravens, the football and baseball teams respectively, have teamed up and have dropped $10 million onto the Key Bridge Emergency Fund, which is really good. I'll have more information about Baltimore's ports in a little bit. Baltimore is also ranked 10th in Zillow's best markets for first-time homeowners, so that's good. If you are a first-time homeowner and you want your first house, Baltimore is one of the best places to come. Jackie Comer and Charles Hunan are in talks to join the 28 Years Later sequel. The new Karate Kid movie with Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan has started filming. Daredevil Born Again has finished filming its first season. Game of Thrones prequel The Hedge Knight has cast its first 2 leads. No one I know about, so no one I know offhand, so no big deal. Kim Coates has joined the cast of Walking Dead Dead City Season 2. Beau Willimon to co-write James Mangold's Star Wars movie, Star Wars Dawn of the Jedi. He was a writer for Andor and for House of Cards, actually created House of Cards, which was filmed right here in Baltimore, actually. Matrix 5 has been announced. It will be directed by Drew Goddard, who directed Cabin in the Woods and was involved in the Netflix version of Daredevil, and also did Cloverfield and stuff like that. He will be directing Matrix. Lana Wachowski, one of the co-creators of the Matrix, will be producing but not directing this time around. She directed number 4 by herself without her sister. So I don't remember her sister's name, but oh well. So that's kind of cool. All right, I wrote that down. The Roadhouse remake with Jake Gyllenhaal has become Amazon Prime's most popular Amazon original movie, scoring 50 million viewers over 2 weekends. Now, just think about that. $50 million, okay? Not 50 million views. Now, obviously, it'd probably be a different story, but let's just say they decided to release it in theaters and 50 million people went to see it. I know it probably wouldn't happen over 2 weekends. It would make roughly $500 to $700 million probably, because you figure $10 for a ticket. And that's just for maybe, it might cost more if you put it in IMAX or put it in another theater or whatever, and it has the different price ranges for it. So if they would have released it in theaters, it probably would have been a hit. Now, I don't know for sure, because this might, again, be proof that streaming is probably the future of filmmaking. And the reason why, and I had this discussion a while back, how the reason why all these films that are supposed to be these event films, stuff like that, are tanking, like Argyle and stuff like that, that were these $200 million movies that made like $20 million. First of all, they're too much money to make them, but a film that you thought would be hugely popular because everybody loves Henry Cavill, and that is annoying as hell. And Dua Lipa's in it and stuff like that. And it's a weird, Samuel Jackson is a weird little film. And everybody thought it was going to be a big hit, and it wasn't. But if you released it, through streaming or whatever, it's probably going to become a big deal. Captain Marvel also, I still think that it got unduly called a flop. When, yes, it didn't make much in the movie theaters, but when it got to Disney Plus, it broke records. So, and people are like, well, that doesn't really count. Yes, it fucking does. It's the future. Yes, they might not have made any money because they weren't selling tickets, because you're already getting it because you paid for your Disney Plus, but it still made people, they wanted to see the movie. They just didn't want to go to the movie theater to see it. But that doesn't mean that people were done with Marvel movies, or it was too woke, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. No, it's just they prefer to see movies at home. And I've talked about this too. When COVID hit, that changed everything. If COVID would have never hit, we probably wouldn't be having this discussion right now. And Roadhouse probably would have been in movie theaters, and Captain Marvel probably would have made a lot more money, and so on and so forth. But when COVID hit and everybody was confined to their houses and they needed some entertainment, and streaming services popped up and said, we'll do all this, we'll get you movies, blah, blah, blah. And that's how, it became a big deal. They realized, hey, we can stay and watch these movies in our house. We can put the subtitles on. We can pause it. We'll have our own bathroom. We won't have to go to the bathroom anybody else. Our bathroom, we won't have to wait in line for bathrooms. We have our own bathrooms. We can have our snacks that we've already paid for, our drinks. We can get free refills if we want to. We can pause it, as I said. We can watch it multiple times. We can read the subtitles. We can talk, and it won't be too annoying. It still would be kind of annoying, but no, not really. But people realize that they could have a better cinematic experience in their house, having not to pay the exorbitant amount of money that it costs for a ticket or for concessions, and have rude people and have to share bathrooms and do all that stuff, and not being able to pause it. Like, you have to go to the bathroom badly. You can't pause the movie, so you're going to miss 5-10 minutes, whatever long it takes to go to the bathroom, And yeah, it's the way of the future. So probably if it was released in movie theaters, it might have made a good amount of money. But if all 50 million people who watched it online went to movie theaters, and yes, it'd be a huge hit. But there is no guarantee that that's exactly what would happen. If it was released in movie theaters, it's possible that only half of those people would show up to see it. Still be a successful film, or it might be a flop. And I'd be like, I'm not paying $20 to go see a remake of a movie I've already seen with Patrick Swayze, who I like. But hey, we're at home. May as well check it out. So who knows? I talked about that. Boom. Quantum Leap reboot was canceled after 2 seasons. Never got into it. I liked Quantum Leap, but I never got into it before. But I heard there were a lot of fans about it, and they kind of liked it. Reese Witherspoon is bringing Legally Blonde to television. Now, I don't know if she will be portraying the main character again, and we'll see how she is now older, or if it's a complete reboot with a young Elle starting off in law school. And that could be kind of an interesting show. You've already seen in the movies how she went to Harvard, and then what her first court case, and her weird way of doing these court cases. You could have like an Ally McBeal sort of type of show with this Legally Blonde sort of backing to it, and it might become an interesting film or sorry, TV show. So this will probably be on streaming eventually. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen, if she's going to be or maybe she's going to be portraying a mentor to a new Legally Blonde sort of character. I don't know, or if she's even involved with it. I mean, she did do that show, the morning show on Apple TV Plus, so she's no stranger to streaming TV shows. She also popped up on Friends a few times playing Jennifer Aniston's sister, but kind of interesting. I must have missed this one, or I might have mentioned it, but I didn't really think much about it. The WB and Matt Reeves, who directed The Batman with Robert Pattinson, were sued for plagiarism. And I didn't know about that. And regardless, it doesn't matter, because they won their a court case. Someone sued them for plagiarism, and the judge found out, no, they didn't plagiarize nothing, so they won their court case. You can now own a life-size Megan doll. Now, Megan was one of the big hits from a few years ago. It was a killer AI robotic doll sort of thing. You can now own a life-size version of it if you like. So there you go. Again, I hate this also. Disney changed the date of one of their movies and then released new dates for other movies as well. It's not a sign of a troubled production or whatever. This strike and other stuff has occurred and happened that has set stuff back for a while, and it's just the way it works out. So the live action Moana movie, which I don't want to see anymore now if The Rock's involved, because he's a piece of shit now, which was set to debut on June 27th, 2025, has now been pushed back to July 10th, 2026, a full year and a couple weeks after that. So that's the only one of these Disney movies that I believe has had their date changed. These other ones were the first dates announced. I'll do them in order of when they come out. The Mandalorian and Grogu movie, which was announced a while back, is set to debut on May 22nd, 2026, right around the time of the actual Star Wars Day, which is May 25th. So that makes sense. So that's 2026. That's still a couple years away. They haven't even started filming it yet. Toy Story 5, which I think is a stupid bad move, but okay, whatever. It's popular, is set to debut one day before my birthday in 2026. June 19th, 2026 is when Toy Story 5 is set to debut. And Tron Ares is set to debut. Actually, that's the earliest one. October 10th, 2025. They're currently filming that right now. And Tron always has a lot of special effects. It'll probably take a little while to get that all done and up and running properly. The World of Comics, a What If style miniseries from DC. DC doesn't do What Ifs. They do Elseworlds. And for the life of me, they're still going on about this event that happened 40 plus years ago. Batman Death in the Family, actually maybe it was less than 40 years ago, was a major storyline in the Batman comics, issues 426, 27, 28, 29, back in 86, 87, 88, somewhere when I was collecting them. And it was Jason Todd, who was the second Robin. Jim Starlin, I think, who was the writer at the time, did not like Jason Todd and turned him into a whiny little bitch boy. And so he decided to do the storyline where Jason Todd discovers, he was an orphan, discovers that his mother is alive in the Middle East and defies Batman because Batman believes it's a trap. And Batman is right because the Joker was the one that set all this up. And then he was to draw Batman and Robin to him. And when it was just Robin, Joker beat him to death with a crowbar and then blew him up. Now, issue 428, I believe, at the end of, and this is back when comics came out every 30 days. At 428, it had a telephone number. It was back in the era of the 1-900 numbers, which was a huge deal back in the 80s, where you could call these 1-900 numbers and you would get all these voice messages for all kinds of stuff. So in this case, it would cost, like 15 cents, 20 cents, whatever per phone call. But they were you got to vote if Robin lived or died. And if you wanted Robin to live, you would call this 1-900 number. If you wanted Robin to die, you would call this 1-900 number. They would gather the votes, and then about a week before the book I don't know how it quite exactly worked out. They got the consensus of who people wanted to see, and then they released that comic the next month. Because in that case, Jim Starlin and Jim Aparo, who was the artist at the time, they had drawn both What If He Died and What If He Lived. That way they can just print it with whatever the winner is. So they were able to do both of them at the same time. So because Jim Starlin had written Jason Todd as a little whiny little bitch and everyone didn't like him, they were almost surprised that he overwhelmingly was voted to die. So they killed Robin. And it was a big deal, big storyline, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter because they retconned it about 30 years later. Judd Winnick, who I love, decided he wanted to retcon it. And just like, come on, man, seriously, that's ridiculous. And Jason Todd is still alive now to this day as the Red Hood. So whatever. And then for whatever reason, DC keeps trying to go back and it's like, we really should have done that. It was horrible that you guys voted for him to die. So they released recently a facsimile edition of the comic where he lived that never got released because everyone voted for him to die, because everyone overwhelmingly voted for him to die, DC. But they said, it's been long enough. Let's release a facsimile of it. And I guess it was a big seller or whatever. So he said, we should do a limited series about what would have happened in the next Batman story arc after Robin was found alive, but after undergoing this trauma. So J.M. DeMatteis, who I absolutely love, and Rick Leonardi, who I also love, have been tasked to do a mini-series basically doing the next Batman story arc after Robin. If Robin had lived, what would the story arc have been like? Which is kind of stupid. You should have gotten Jim Starlin to write it, but and I think he's still alive. He might not be alive. If that's the case, well, he's not alive anymore. But you should have gotten Jim Starlin, and I guess Apparo's dead too. I guess they couldn't get the originals on there. But you should have at least maybe saw what their story. You're just now. DeMatteis just came up with a storyline of his own and figured out what it could be, which is fine because I love Jam. He knows what he's doing. I like working on Artie. So I haven't been collecting comics anyway for a long time, so I'm not going to get this anyway, but I thought it'd be kind of it's an interesting take on what that DC's trying to, like, they're forever trying to undo the fact that people wanted Robin to die. And then they just decided to just bring him back 30 plus years later, and then it made him a regular character in stuff now. Maybe it's 20 years later. Really kind of dumb, actually. Anywho. Mike Mignola, who's one of my favorite comic book artists, who hasn't drawn for a really long time. He created Hellboy and done other stuff. He apparently has created his own brand new comic company called Bowling with Corpses. And I don't know if he's going to be releasing a new book that he's drawn and written and drawn. He's been writing Hellboy miniseries lately, but he hasn't been drawing any of them, and I miss that because I like his art style. But so Mike Mignola has a new that one. When it comes out, I'm whatever books he decides, depending on if he's drawing it, I might pick that one up. Go back in the comic shop and pick that one up. Probably not, but maybe. Rob Liefeld, who I absolutely can't stand, and Kathy Christian, who are the creators of this comic book character named Evangeline, are set to, Evangeline is set to be turned into a live action film directed by Olivia Wilde, who I like and I believe was wrongfully abused a couple years ago when she broke up with her husband and started dating that singer everybody loves. And then that movie she directed with Florence Pugh was a sort of a tank thing. And they just blamed her for everything, even though the guy, the singer, left his wife or knew that he was with a woman who left her husband and still wanted to fuck her. So, and they said, oh no, he's fine. You know, he had nothing to do with it. He was seduced by her. He was still fucking seduced by her, and he still knew she was married at the time they had an affair. So he actually helped, fuck up her marriage because he accepted the fuck invite. Regardless, I think Olivia Wilde got unjustly accused of stuff, but she's going to be directing this version of live action Evangeline, and Margot Robbie could possibly be set to star, though what it seems like to me more along the lines, I think she's going to produce it, because I don't know if this would be something that Margot Robbie would be interested in. Honestly, and I'll keep it. This seems like something that a Sydney Sweeney would be involved with, and Margot would probably, who's getting more into producing anyway, and wants to do more, I think, regular film roles and not comic book stuff. So we'll see, but yeah, whatever. Cup of Noodles has a brand new everything bagel with cream cheese cup of noodles flavor. Okay. And we also know that, continuing with our solar Rapture, Eclipse, Armageddon story, we also know that 2 breeds of cicadas will be coming out of the ground at the same time. The first time that's happened in hundreds of years, I think. That'll be happening this summer. And one branch of them are these hypersexual zombie cicadas who have these sexually transmitted this disease or this fungus that makes them be hypersexual. So yeah, there's that. So sexy time for cicadas, which is probably what I should name this episode also. All right, what do we got? I did the anniversaries, did that. That was all the storyline. The only thing, the death, as I said, the majority of deaths are going to be later in the episode. Cole Briggs Plenty, who was an actor on the Yellowstone spinoff 1923, was found dead at the age of 27. He was a Native American actor, and he was found dead at the age of 27, which is awful, terrible news. Sacha Baron Cohen and Isla Fisher have decided to divorce after 14 years of marriage. Don't know if there's anything to do with, I forget who it is, but there's an actress who is blaming Sacha Baron Cohen for being an unhealthy castmate in a movie. I don't know if it's the same sort of event. We knew this is a new trend now where they're turning children's stories and old school Disney like movies like the Winnie the Pooh horror films into horror films. And I've talked to you about this one a while now. We finally get a first teaser trailer for Bambi: The Reckoning. And it's an effective teaser trailer. It does exactly what it's supposed to. It's it's a picture of a tree, and there's like something on the tree, like a head or a dead body or food or something like that. And it's just a close up on that, and you hear like some noise, like a breathing or whatever. And then it cuts to these two hunters, and one guy's talking to the other. Says, "You ever killed a deer before?" And the guy goes, "I did once," which we're making the assumption that he killed Bambi's mother. And then we hear the more breathing and stuff like that, and viewpoint from the woods and stuff like that. And then it's like Bambi, the Reckoning. And then there's a car rolling down the street, and then you see the first view of Bambi running and smashing into the car and knocking it over. And then like a quick shot in shadows of evil Bambi. And that was it. But it's a teaser trailer. What you expect from a movie called Bambi, the Reckoning. Hellboy, the Crooked Man, which was a film that was filmed last year and has not been released yet, is now pretty much set to be released in fall 2024, which makes sense. Debut it in October. You should make some good money on it. I'm intrigued by this because I have seen absolutely nothing about it. I have not seen pictures of the actor as Hellboy. It is an unknown actor. I've never heard of him before. So it's different than a Ron Perlman or the guy who played Stranger Things, David Harbour, and their versions of Hellboy. It's also a low-budget, independent sort of version, and it's based on an actual Hellboy story. It's an adaptation of an actual Hellboy story and not a new creation that used bits and pieces from other Hellboy stories, and it's actual an adaptation of it. I'm intrigued by it. I want to start seeing some more stuff about it. Probably San Diego will probably get our first look at it if it's due to come out in the fall, and hoping that they take advantage of the fact that it's a horror type of movie. You should release it in October, which is the best time to release a horror film because you will make a shit ton of money. I don't know why more people don't. It's a dead cert moneymaker to release a horror film in October because that's what the whole fucking month is about. You have 31 days to explore the world of horror as you prep for Halloween. And you would think that more people would take advantage of releasing films in October instead of waiting the week before Halloween, release it through the whole freaking month because everybody is looking and is involved in horror stuff. People are decorating their houses. They're getting their decorations. They're getting their costumes. The stores are filled with Halloween stuff. There's Halloween shows on TV. There's horror movies, on TV and stuff like that, and they really need to do more with that. And it boggles my mind that they don't release more horror movies in October. So here's hoping that they do that. Here's the Port of Baltimore story. The Port of Baltimore announced that they are the clearing up of the Key Bridge crash has started already. And the port is having some issues getting boats in and out. So they are going to open a small channel at the end of this month. So boats can come in and get out, like cruise ships and stuff like that can actually come up to Baltimore. And some boats can, leave the port and deliver some stuff. So it's not too delayed. Now the water is going to be much more shallow. So you're going to have to pick and choose who you're going to allow in and out. And by the end of May, they will have the regular sized channel open with the proper deep water. So it's going to be a little backed up because it's a smaller area than where it was, because they're going to be working on this area, and this area over here is where the boats are going to be going. So whereas if they weren't working on the crash, you would have this whole area to take your boats up and down. Here you only have a small area, so you can only fit so many back and forth over it. So it's going to take some time to get stuff out there, but at least they're working on getting it out there, which is good. Kiss has sold their music catalog, so no skin off my mouth, whatever. Also speaking about Maryland, Maryland is going to spend $25.7 million to renovate the convention center. It's about time. They haven't done a renovation on it since they released the new branch of it years ago. Also about Baltimore, the Norfolk Tides, which is the Baltimore Orioles AAA affiliation, dropped 26 runs on a team this week. They are insane. They are cranking it out there. What the hell is this? Oh, supermarkets are adding GPS stuff to their meat products to curb shoplifting. So basically, there's some sort of GPS chip or whatever is put in your meat that you get from the grocery store, so that if it is stolen, they can find out who stole it by using the GPS, which is weird, but okay. An Oregon man nearly escapes being hit by a runaway saw blade. The video is insane. The saw blade is like zipping down this road or whatever at hundreds of miles, maybe 20, 30 miles an hour. So, and dude's walking and just got missed. If it would have hit him, that would have sliced him in half. Would have been awful, but good thing he didn't. This is a weird sort of thing. Someone posted, because it is baseball season, how many Bigfoot sightings have been seen 100 miles from every baseball stadium. Go figure. I don't know. Surprisingly, Fenway Park in Boston has had 17 Bigfoot sightings 100 miles around Fenway Park. Maryland, Baltimore has only had one. But it's insane how and who even thought of that? It's one of the craziest things ever. Icefield, I guess, is a new film with Joel Kinnaman, Graham Greene, Danny Houston, and Cora Yater Myers. It's a thriller about a plane that crashed in a Norwegian lake or something like that, and has millions of dollars on it. And all these groups of people, mafia guys and regular treasure hunters, stuff like that, are all converging on this one area to try to get this $1 million. So we'll see. Mother of the Bride trailer set to debut May 9th. Stars Brooke Shields and Benjamin Bratt. It looks like a cute little romantic comedy. It's good to see Brooke Shields back in a main role. She hasn't really done anything for a while. But the premise is Brooke Shields' daughter is getting married, and the wedding looks like it's going to be in Italy or something like that. And they go, and apparently in this world, the parents of the bride and groom had not met until the couple days before the wedding, which obviously probably would never happen. But hey, it's a romantic comedy. It's what we do. Turns out the father of the groom used to be the high school boyfriend of the mother of the bride, and they know each other. They had a huge relationship, and we learn more and more that she was totally in love with this guy, and he appeared to be in love with her. And then one day he just left and broke her heart. And so it looks like they're trying to rekindle the relationship, blah, blah, blah. So it's a typical rom-com, but it looks cute-ish, I guess. So we'll see. Where's the other thing here? I know there's another. Oh, yeah, Bodkin is also coming out May 9th. Bodkin is a Netflix TV series that'll be coming out the same day as Mother of the Bride. The first trailer for that came out this week as well. It's going to star Will Forte, Siobhan Allen, and Robin Corn, something like that, Carr. And the premise is a podcaster is trying to investigate a true crime event that happened in a idyllic yet bizarre Irish town. Think like Twin Peaks, but podcasters coming to investigate the murder of Laura Palmer 20 some years after it happened, something like that. In this case, 3 people vanished on Samhain, which is their Halloween in Ireland, and the case has never been solved. So these podcasters are going to investigate, and it's idyllic, sort of Twin Peaksian sort of town, but of course there's secrets and blah blah blah. And so it's a comedy thriller. Looks interesting, so we'll see about that. The Interview with the Vampire Season 2 trailer was released this week as well. That's due out in June, I believe. Krispy Kreme is getting involved in the Solar Rapture Eclipse Armageddon with the release of their Solar Eclipse donuts, which is like a glazed donut with like an Oreo cookie on top of it to make it look like a eclipse sort of thing going on. Baskin Robbins is releasing Marigold Dreamsicle flavor, which is your typical creamsicle flavor and orange sherbet / a vanilla ice cream, but this time mixed with marigold flowers. People who've tried it said it's refreshing and not at all. And it's not like you have chunks of it in it. They have put the marigolds in it and it grinded up into particles so that you're just eating not particles of the marigold and not like the big leaves of it. Oh, Australia's oldest man knits tiny sweaters for injured penguins. It was adorable to see some of the sweaters that he had created for them. There's also the giraffe chiropractor, which is an actual job out there now. So if you want to be a giraffe chiropractor, it's now your time to do it. We have our first look at Christian Bale's Frankenstein and Jenna Buckley's Bride of Frankenstein. And Bale looks a lot like regular Frankenstein, and Buckley looks a little weird, doesn't have the big hair, and she's sort of like got a kind of a bloody sort of look to her. So we'll see. It was in black and white anyway, so it doesn't matter. In 2007, Scotland spent $162,972 and 6 months to create a new slogan to build up tourism. The new slogan they came up with for all that money in that 6-month period: welcome to Scotland. I saw that story. Yes, it was many, many years ago, but I thought that was freaking hilarious. So I figured I was going to show that. It is now officially Bagon Community Day. So there we go. Tiger Woods is abstaining from sex as he preps for the Masters. Good for him, I guess. See if it helps. As We Know It trailer for the Apple TV Plus zombie romantic comedy film starring Pam Grier and Chris Parnell was released. It was meh. Frank Grillo joins Sylvester Stallone's Tulsa King Season 2. Yeah. Craig Gillespie is in talks to direct the Gunverse Supergirl movie. Okay. Chick-fil-A to release a brand new chicken sandwich, the Pretzel Cheddar Club Sandwich. Actually looks pretty good with the pretzel roll. Could be pretty good. Minecraft, the live-action Minecraft set. Apparently they are filming the movie now. Props appear to make it look like it will be a faithful adaptation of Minecraft with the props and the sets and stuff like that they've created. Looks pretty good. Last Stop in Yuma County trailer is about a knife salesman who stops off at a diner just to get something to eat and gets involved in a siege that happens at this place. The Kansas City, Missouri had a vote recently to see if they were willing to pay more taxes into building or renovating the new stadiums for the Kansas City Chiefs and the Kansas City Royals. Kansas City, Missouri people said, no, we're not going to do it. So now Kansas City Royals and Kansas City Chiefs management is potentially looking like once their leases are up, they might move from Missouri after being there for so long to another area. And sure enough, Kansas City, Kansas has jumped up and said, ooh us, come here. You've already got the name. We don't got to change nothing. We'll get you a new stadium and you just move to Kansas. Is this heaven? No, it's Iowa, not Kansas. So we'll see what happens. A flamingo returns to Texas after escaping from a Kansas zoo 17 years ago during a storm. So it took him 17 years to get from Kansas to Texas, but good on that. He did it, and he's back, and he's good. I did not know this happened, but the Critics' Choice Super Awards were released this week. Did not know that even existed, but I want to bring it up because there was some good stuff. Critics' Choice Super Awards. Here we go. All right. The reason I want to talk about this because I want there you'll find out for a reason. So here's the full list of the winners. Best action movie, and what the Critics' Choice Super Awards are for genre sort of films. So best action film was John Wick Chapter 4. Actor in an action movie, Tom Cruise won for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. Actress in an action film, Rebecca Ferguson for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. Superhero movie, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Actor in an action film, I guess another actor in an action film. Maybe it's supporting actor. It might be supporting actor in an action movie. Michael Fassbender for The Killer. No, he's the main actor. Oh, well, who knows? Actress in a superhero movie, Iman Vellani for The Marvels. A horror movie, Talk to Me. Actor in an action movie. I guess there's a bunch of those awards. Nicolas Cage for Dream Scenario, which isn't really an action movie, but okay. Actress in an action film, Sophie Wilde for Talk to Me. Science fiction fantasy movie, Godzilla -1. That's why I wanted to mention it. Actor in a science fiction fantasy movie, Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things. Actress in a science fiction fantasy movie, Emma Stone for Poor Things, adding to her total. Villain in a movie, Godzilla and Godzilla -1. TV winners, action series, limited series, or made-for-TV movie was Reacher. Actor in an action series, limited series, or made-for-TV movie, Idris Elba for Hijack. Actress in an action series, limited series, or made-for-TV movie, Zoe Saldana for Special Ops Lioness. Superhero series, limited series, or made-for-TV movie, The Last of Us, and superhero computer game, whatever. Actor in a superhero series, limited series, or made-for-TV movie, Pedro Pascal for Last of Us. Actress in a superhero series, limited series, or made-for-TV movie, Bella Ramsey for Last of Us. Excuse me. Horror series, limited series, or made-for-TV movie, The Last of Us. Actor in a horror series, limited series, or made-for-TV movie, Pedro Pascal, The Last of Us. Actress in a horror movie, limited series, or made-for-TV movie, Bella Ramsey. So they each won two awards. That's kind of interesting. Science fiction fantasy series, limited series, or made-for-TV movie, Black Mirror, Joan is Awful. Actor in a science fiction fantasy series, limited series, or made-for-TV movie, Gerald Jerome, I'm a Virgo, and Kurt Russell for Monarch. So it was a tie, Legacy of Monsters. Actress in a science fiction fantasy series, limited series, or made-for-TV movie, Annie Murphy for Black Mirror, Joan is Awful. And villain in a series, limited series, or made-for-TV movie, Melanie Linsky for The Last of Us. So definitely interesting awards. But okay. Let's just see what the Orioles are doing real quick. 0-0, top the third. Ooh, it's a pitcher's duel. Who's pitching? Dean Kramer's having a good game. All right. Whew. Okay. Boom. Death, Tim McGovern, a visual effects artist for Total Recall, died at the age of 68, excuse me. All right. On to our last page, and not too soon because I got to go to the bathroom. I'll get something to eat, and then I'll probably go do my Bagon hunting. Check on Little Man also. A lot of deaths in this section, a lot of anniversaries. So we'll do the anniversaries real quick. Tommy Boy, 29 years ago this week. The Matrix came out 25 years ago this week. 10 Things I Hate About You came out 25 years ago this week. Godzilla vs. Kong, the first one, came out 3 years ago this week. The Crush, Alicia Silverstone's first movie with Carrie Elways, came out 31 years ago this week. Hellboy, original movie, came out 20 years ago this week. Sin City came out 19 years ago this week. And Splash came out 40 years ago this week. And the anniversary of the first cell phone call ever placed was 51 years ago this week. New species of large whale was discovered in the Gulf of Mexico. There's only 50 in existence right now. So hopefully they'll be taken care of and nothing comes to their problem. Golf course workers dig up a 4,000-year-old tree trunk coffin with a warrior skeleton holding an axe in it. That should have been my last film, but my last story, but that's all right. Valiant Comics is coming back, is being rebooted again. They announced that this week. 42,000-year-old foal who was entombed in ice, still had liquid blood in their veins. Godzilla vs. Kong 2 made $80 million domestically last week and is also set to win this week as well with about $30 to $40 million this week as well. It has a worldwide total of around $300-400 million right now, so that's very, very good for that. New Descendants movie, Rise of Red, set to debut on Disney Plus on July 12th. Kevin Smith's new film, 4:30 movie, is set to debut this year. It's a look at what he used to do in the 80s, where he and a group of friends would meet at the movie theater, and then they would theater hop and watch movies. So basically, that's what it is. The trailer for Daryl Dixon Season 2, The Book of Carol, debuted this week as well. A new plan, which was starring and directed by Jesse Eisenberg and also starring Kieran Culkin, is set debut October 18th. Hostess is creating double chocolate Malamars. Malamars are marshmallow on top of a shortbread cookie covered in chocolate. This is double chocolate, and I think the marshmallow in the middle is also going to be chocolate. So lots of chocolate there. The Texans, in football news, the Texans have traded for Stephon Diggs from the Bills. That was unexpected. Jack O'Connell is rumored to be playing the bad guy in the Ryan Coogler, Michael B. Jordan genre film. The Cuckoo trailer, new horror film coming out August 9th, debuted this week. The Dead Boy Detectives, that takes place in the Sandman universe and was supposed to be on the WB Max network, and then they rejected it. But then with Netflix doing Sandman, they grabbed it up and are going to debut it. It's set to debut at the end of this month, April 25th. That'll be the last story, I think. Grieving mother dolphin won't let go of her dead baby's body. It's very depressing and sad, and I feel bad for the baby and the mother. So here are all the deaths, and then we'll do my last story, and then I'll go to the bathroom. Vontae Davis, NFL Pro Bowler, died at the age of 35. His brother is Terrell Davis. Borkin Ruth, I can't see that. Barbara Ruth, a Peyton Place actress who won Golden Globes, died at the age of 97 this week. Ed Pistler, an award-winning comic creator and designer, died at the age of 41. Mark D. Bright, a fantastic comic book artist who I loved. He did Green Lantern, Spider-Man versus Wolverine, Quantum and Woody creator, Iron Man. He died at the age of 68. Very distinct art. You could know it was him from the art. Larry Lucchino, the former vice president of operations for the Orioles, was doing that up in Boston when he passed away this week as well. The world's oldest man, Juan Vicente Perez, died at the age of 114, just days shy of his 115th birthday. So I don't know who the oldest person in the world is. I've missed this one. Velma season 2 on Max is set to debut on April 25th as well. Nobody really wanted it, but hey, they decided to do it anyway. And Joe Flaherty, character actor, comedian who started on SCTV and has done a ton of movies, died this week as well. I will give you a list of some of the movies that he did. I can give you some off the top of my head right now. He was in One Crazy Summer, played the father of the actor Curtis Armstrong's character. Forget his character's name in One Crazy Summer. Joe. He was a total armed forces freak out guy. It was hilarious. He was also on SCTV. He was also on Freaks and Geeks. Okay, here we go. Again, he was a character actor, so he's in a bunch of movies. You probably would recognize him some. He was in 1941, Used Cars, Stripes, Heavy Metal, Johnny Dangerously, Sesame Street Presents Follow That Bird, Club Paradise, One Crazy Summer, Inner Space, Who's Harry Crumb, Back to the Future Part 2. He was the Western Union man at the end of Back to the Future Part 2 who delivered the message from Doc to Marty in 1955. Stuart Saves His Family, Happy Gilmore, Detroit Rock City, Freddie Got Fingered, Slackers, National Security, Home on the Range, Anchorman, Phil the Alien. On TV, he was on SCTV, The Completely Mental Misadventures of Ed Grimley, Married with Children, Dinosaurs, Dream On, Ellen, Black Police Academy, the series, Freaks and Geeks, That 70s Show, The King of Queens, Frasier, Family Guy, American Dad, Call Me Fitz. So he was in, so his character actor did a whole bunch of stuff. He passed away this week as well. The final story for this week, Bobby Chase, former editor-in-chief at Marvel Comics and former editor, writer, all that stuff, is retiring from Marvel and will be writing a tell-all book about her time in Marvel, which will probably have some very juicy details since it is known that in the 80s and 90s when she was editor and before she became editor-in-chief, there was probably many misogynistic asshole creators and stuff like that that messed around with her, and she was always a good writer and good one to toughen up with. All right, that's it. I really got to go take a piece. I'm not really going to say much more about that. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you back here again next week. Thanks for watching.